Hey everybody, it's Jason up at the Peas Farm. I'm the farm to school director for Garden City Harvest, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what is happening up here at the Peas Farm and what kind of food you're going to be getting from our CSA and some of the RCSAs at Garden City Harvest Farms. A little update. I'm working up here mainly as a farmer this year due to the pandemic. So no kiddos at the farm, which is super sad. It definitely feels weird up here, but we're getting lots and lots of stuff done. We have a nice crew of employees and a small crew of students from the university, and we're just getting lots and lots of food in the ground and growing and out to you guys to eat. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what kind of greens are going to be coming out of our CSAs this week, and some that you've already gotten. How to deal with those, and then some new vegetables that are going to be coming your way this week and next week, and then we'll talk about a few things that are going to be out in the future, a few weeks out, that'll hopefully get you excited. So Genevieve talked to you guys last week about a lot of the greens that we grow. This time of year is, because of the cool weather, all of our greens do really well here in Montana. We want you to enjoy those greens. There's so many of them, and they can be so good, and I know they can be intimidating at times, especially when we give you lots and lots of them, but hopefully we'll be able to help you out with using them and getting them into your bellies. So a few that I want to talk about today that you got last week or this week or maybe the week before, and then you'll probably continue to see: mustard greens. You're going to see some spinach still. We got lots of spinach going on up here. I know Genevieve last week talked about escarole and tatsoi and bok choy. You'll see some of those. I know we're getting pretty low on tatsoi, but you'll probably see some bok choy in the next few weeks. As she said, there's lots and lots of great recipes out there to use to make those things part of your meal, whether it's dinner or lunch or breakfast. I want to encourage you guys to not be afraid of them. Just chop them up, throw them into whatever you're making. I've been eating a lot of beans and rice this year, and I've just been chopping up greens and throwing them in there. If I'm having eggs in the morning, chop a bunch of greens, throw them in there. Make an egg sandwich, chop up some greens, throw it right on top of it. Most of our greens can be eaten raw without any worry. They may taste a little bit stronger that way. So you may want to cook them, but just play with it. Don't be afraid of it. Take some chances. You got all these delicious greens. They're can be intimidating, but I think just playing around with it, I think you'll find great ways to use them. So we've had some questions about storage. Genevieve touched on last week about using plastic bags. 100% agree, and you can reuse those over and over and over again. That is the absolute best way I've found to store any greens. You want to get them in a plastic bag and then in your crisper, and they'll last a week and a half depending on the green. And when you get down to that point and you still got greens left, what do you want to do with them? Well, one option, which is not something a lot of people do this time of year, they tend to do this in the late summer and fall, is to freeze those greens. So any of our greens can be frozen and stored for future use. A quick blanching on most, you're going to want to look that up on the internet to see how long, because they do vary by green type. And then squeeze out that extra water, get them into a freezer bag, get that air out of there, and then throw it in your freezer, and you can eat those greens. Geez, I've eaten greens 2, 3, 4, or 5 years old even. If you're going to use them super fast, if you're going to use them within a month or two, you don't even need to blanch them. But if you don't blanch them, they will go bad much faster in the freezer. They will start to break down the enzymes, break down the cells in the leaves, and then they get all mushy and not good to eat. So if you're a little afraid of blanching and you just want some extra time with your greens, just chop them up, throw them in a bag, get that air out of there, throw them in the freezer. Use them by the end of the summer, you'll probably be fine. So one dish that all of our peas farmers have been loving on this spring, using any of the greens pretty much besides salad, any of the cookable greens, or besides lettuce, excuse me, is saag, which is an Indian dish. It's spelled S-A-A-G, and it's basically just chopped up, finely chopped up. Even some people like to puree the greens. There's tons of different types of sog, and you can look up tons of recipes, but it is a fantastic way to use your greens. I love doing it. You can take, if you're getting pound bags of spinach like this and a bunch of mustard greens, I mean, that'll all go down into a, cook down into a very small portion, maybe feed like 2 or 3 people at most. So it may look like you have a lot of greens, but when you cook them down, they do shrink up. And then you have a highly nutritious, delicious meal out of your greens that you can eat all week. That can go on top of rice, or something I've really been enjoying is putting it on Ann's Foods. If you guys have heard of her bread, she makes Iraqi flatbread here in town. You get it at the farmer's market, or a number of grocery stores in town carry it. It's kind of like a naan, and it is delicious to scoop up your sog with if you're kind of, over rice for a while. So that's our big recommendation on how to use up these greens. And seriously, you could use any of them: mustard greens, spinach, bok choy, tatsoi, any of the chicory family greens could be made into this. It's a great way to just try a new way to use your greens. So new stuff that we're going to have this week that some of you have already gotten, maybe last week or this week, but things that are kind of intimidating. This is a new one for me. I'd never eaten these until this year. These are salad turnips, and I'll kind of bring it up close so you guys can see. Kind of looks like a radish, but a little bit different. The leaves are a little bit different. Much like radishes, mainly what people are going to eat is this root bulb, which you can do a ton of different ways. These are quite delicious raw. I am not a big turnip fan in general, but these ones are very sweet. Not as crunchy and crisp as a radish, but still crunchy, just with a little bit more give. So you could easily slice them up, throw them on a salad if you'd like. They are sauteable. Farmer Dave up here loves to roast them and eat them that way, and it sweetens them up if you give them a kind of a slow roast. So I'm converted. I think you will be too if you give them a chance. We've been just eating them in the field, just popping them in our mouths, clean them up. They're kind of a delicious snack too. Give them to the kids. See if they like it. You never know. These will only be white if you get these, at least from peas. I don't think they come in any other color. So if you see something that looks like this that's not white, it's probably a radish, and eventually into our beets. So you can also eat the leaves on these. People normally don't do that, but you totally can. And these are young plants when they're picked, so these leaves are still tender. They're not going to be tough in any way, and you can saute them up. You could make them into sog. Again, like totally edible leaves, full of nutritious nutrients and all sorts of good stuff. Another thing that you're going to see this week, and I believe all of our farms are doing this crazy vegetable right here is called kohlrabi. Kohlrabi is something you're not going to see at the grocery store very often. In fact, I don't know that I've ever seen it at a grocery store. What you eat on the kohlrabi and what you see here is the leaves, the leaf stems, and then the stem bulb. This is actually the stem bulb. I'll bring it up a little closer so you guys can see it. You may see kohlrabi in purple. You may see it in a lighter green. Both taste about the same. When you're using kohlrabi, most of the time people are going to be using just the stem bulb. And if we were to cut this open right now, you would see there was a very light green, white, crunchy, delicious vegetable in there. You're going to want to strip off all of this skin on the outside, all the purple skin or the lighter green skin, depending on the color of your kohlrabi. But that inside is super tender still, crispy, crunchy. I think it tastes like an apple or a pear met a broccoli stem, which I know sounds weird, but it's juicy, it's crunchy, it's really unique, and kids really love it. The kids that visit the farm up here absolutely love kohlrabi. There's all sorts of crazy things you can do with kohlrabi. You could just eat it raw, which is how I usually feed it to kiddos up here. I love to make it into pickles, so you can slice it however you like it and make it into like a quick pickle. I'll usually do that, make a brine, fill up your jar, throw your chunks of kohlrabi in there, whatever spices you like. You can make just like dill pickles if you wanted, make it spicy if you want, and then throw your brine over top, stick it in the fridge, 2-3 weeks, you got kohlrabi refrigerator pickles. That's a great way to do it. Again, much like this turnip, you could roast it. I know some people use it in soups. You can saute it, you can put it in a stir fry, just all sorts of options. I know it's weird looking, don't be intimidated by it, have some fun with it. If you mess up, you mess up. So that's just the stem bulb. The greens and the stems, totally edible. They're basically kale. This kohlrabi and kale are the same genus and species, so they're basically the same plant. The only difference is that these leaves do get a little bit tougher, quicker than kale plants, but they are totally edible, especially early in your CSA when you're getting kohlrabis like this week and next week. You're going to get those for about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks maybe. These leaves they're much more tender when they're younger. As your kohlrabis get bigger, you're going to see that happen over the next couple weeks. Your leaves are going to be a little tougher. You're going to want to cook them a little bit longer, maybe more like a collard green. But they're just like collard greens and kale, absolutely full of wonderful nutrients to keep you healthy and delicious too. So don't necessarily throw those away. You can if you want, throw them in your compost. If you got chickens, give them, or give them, pop one off, give them to your kid. They can run around and chew on it. So that's kohlrabi, one of my favorite spring vegetables. Some other things to look forward to soon. Beets are going to be coming up pretty soon. Probably not next week up here. Maybe some of the other farms will have beets next week. So there will be beets soon. And we're still going to be pumping out lots of greens. We'll still be getting lettuce and spinach. The weather's been staying cool, but it is going to heat up, which means a lot of those things you guys are looking forward to in the future, tomatoes, peppers, corn, those are all going to make big jumps. We're not going to see them soon, but by the end of July, we should start seeing those in your CSA as well. Do we have any questions I can answer?
No, we just have an enthusiastic Jennifer Oakland said, "Hi, Jason, and thank you for this great info. The mustard greens from yesterday were fantastic sauteed."
Awesome.
Behind the camera.
Yep. Hi, Jennifer, and tell Finley hello as well. We miss you guys. Glad to hear you guys are enjoying the food. And keep throwing questions at us. We'll hopefully can answer all the things you want. And again, don't be intimidated by those greens. They're so good for you, and there are just so many ways to just sneak them into your meals. Thanks, everybody.